Thanks, everybody, for staying with us here on the Great in America Show. Now, as promised, a good friend of the show, good friend of mine, and host of the Stephen Gardner Show, a very successful show here on YouTube and Rumble. Stephen, a delight as always to have you join us here. Let's talk about MAGA, Stephen, because I talk with Mark Mitchell every day. I have him on the show every day, and he does polling, Rasmussen reports, and the MAGA numbers are not looking good right now. This is not my words. This is his words. People are revolting. People are upset. They say that his agenda is more globalist based. He's spent more time overseas this time around in a year, less than a year, than he did his last 4 years during his first term. They're not happy that he's very worried about what's happening overseas and not here at home in America. What do you hear from your audience? What's your thoughts on this all?
So I would say my audience is still optimistic, but this has definitely been a rough 30 days for Donald Trump. Yeah. He decided to go overseas for a very long time. You had the government shutdown. You had 24-hour negative news about him, blaming him for everything. And then as the government is starting to reopen, you find out they want to do a 50-year mortgage, a 15-year car loan, that they're going to have 600,000 Chinese come in and take the places of Americans in universities. And then he said that Americans aren't talented enough. We have to bring in people from India and other areas. It's just like, lots of really bad comments. You know what they need to do? They need to say, okay, pause. The government has reopened. What are the 10 things that America elected me to do? And that's what we're going to focus on for the next quarter. America, 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 making life affordable, making life safe, going into areas and getting rid of illegal immigrants where you're welcome. Quit fighting Chicago, quit fighting LA. There's 47 other states that will welcome you to get rid of the illegals and the criminals and clean things up. I think it is time to just laser focus in on what MAGA elected you to do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I disagree with you on the primary aspect of leaving Los Angeles. I think we should be in Los Angeles, but we should also be in every other state. We have to highlight that these Democrats can't be trusted. Now, Andrew Cuomo did an interview. I can't stand the guy. I hate his guts. But he did an interview for what he did to the elderly people and how tens of thousands that he killed during COVID. But he did an interview and he made the point for Donald Trump that Donald Trump sends in the National Guard, he sends in the military to show that you guys don't know how to run your cities. Your cities are out of control and they need your help. And I see on Instagram and I see on Twitter every single day, another far left lunatic blocking the entrance to an ICE facility or blocking the entrance to this. And then when they get arrested, and it's a lot of women who are doing it now. When they get arrested, you hear the people with the cameras going, you're infringing upon my rights. You're doing this, you're doing that. And it's like, no, people, you've got to open your eyes. These people are a threat to our men and women in uniform who are going out there with a target on their back already. I agree with you. We need to get them in more cities. We need to get these cities cleaned up. And we need to show the American people that Donald Trump and the America First agenda is what's going to help this country and what's going to fix this country. And the Democrats only want to set us back 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah. America, great. America, great. Just focus on what makes us great. Focus on America. And I think his numbers can come roaring back very, very quickly. This shutdown, he admitted this did a lot of damage, even though I believe it was the Democrats that were keeping things. But I think brighter days are ahead. As you can tell, I'm being assaulted by a bright day here in my temporary office with no blinds. But I'm still very optimistic about Trump. I'm very optimistic about America, but somebody needs to pull him aside and say, sir, you've got to get back to what they elected you for.
I have one more suggestion before we wrap up here, Stephen. How about we get Elon Musk back in the fight? Why don't we bring Elon Musk back into the fight to help Donald Trump get this thing back on track? The disconnect between Elon Musk and Donald Trump was because, in my opinion, the people I speak to in D.C. was because Elon was upset with how lazy and not willing to clean up this country people were. And that's where things started to go south. Now, I've said it 100 times. Elon Musk has to issue a public apology to Donald Trump for the things that he said to him that were wrong. It's part of being an adult. It's part of being a human being. Once he does that, I think bringing Elon Musk back into this fight to have that fight for Donald Trump it will be an integral part to getting everything back on track. Your thoughts?
Yes, for me, I think those two were better together than they were apart, and I'm still optimistic. I think Team Trump is really good. I just think they've been thrown off by the foreign trips. They've been thrown off by the government shutdown. It's now time to regroup and figure out how to move forward. So the most important thing in an economy and in an election is the economy, right? So it's the economy, stupid. They've known this since Nixon. They've known this since Ronald Reagan. Just focus on making life great for America. All colors, all religions, all creeds, and you will succeed.
The Democrats are back out. They took a little bit of a break from the Epstein documents, but now they're back full force, releasing their own documents, which quite honestly, I mean, don't show anything new that we've already seen. They're trying to implicate Donald Trump, whatever they can. The truth of the matter is, Stephen, in my opinion, if there were anything to implicate Trump, we would have found out about it in 2016 when he ran against Hillary and in 2020 when he ran against Joe Biden. Your thoughts on the revitalization?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Revitalization. So I think this whole booby trap has been planned, right? So they've been pumping this narrative that Trump was keeping the government closed in order to hide his sins with Jeffrey Epstein over and over and over. Any platform that would allow them to say it, they would say it, right? And then boom, their first day back. Oh my gosh, out of 23,000 documents, we've got 3 that mention his name. If you read through them, there's no crime, there's no implication. It's extremely weak. Although you said there was nothing new, I do want to point out something. Michael Wolff was helping Jeffrey Epstein come up with different ways to try to blackmail Donald Trump. So they didn't have anything on him, but they were literally like, well, maybe we can push him this way. Or if he does decide to rat us out or arrest us, we could try to implicate him that way. So why on earth is Michael Wolff not being investigated for trying to blackmail the president of the United States? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, like I said, we didn't get anything new on Donald Trump per se, but we did get some stuff new about Hillary Clinton. Some may even call her Hillary Clinton and her infidelity. We've known all about, of course, her husband Bill Clinton's infidelity and what he used the Oval Office for. But now we find out that Hillary Clinton, according to some Jeffrey Epstein emails, Stephen, quote unquote, you ready for this one, folks? Russian bomb, White House counsel, ... It may have been redacted. Hillary doing naughties with Vince. Now, Vince is Vince Foster. He's former White House deputy counsel, who I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he died somehow mysteriously.
Yeah, he magically unalived himself like the other 50 people connected to the Clintons.
Can you imagine this? The more they push, and I guess this makes sense, Stephen, that the fact that they don't want any more to come out because it's going to implicate Hillary Clinton. It's going to implicate Bill Clinton. I don't believe for a second, okay? Now, I don't know who's being protected. I don't know why the documents haven't been released. I have to assume for some billionaires are probably being protected, but I don't think for a second that in any way Donald Trump is being protected. You see in some of these documents that someone alleged, do you want to see some pictures of Donald Trump in my kitchen with girls in bikinis? I don't believe for a second Donald Trump was in Jeffrey Epstein's home in his kitchen with women in bikinis. Do you?
I mean, even if he was, women in bikinis, like the guy used to own Miss Universe. The guy was surrounded by women. That doesn't mean that he was trafficking children or a pedophile. Everybody knows that he was a playboy billionaire with lots of money and lots of connections. That doesn't implicate him. It's like there's no meat on this bone, so they're trying to come up with a different bone full of meat and then make you confused. I don't think most people that voted for Trump see this as anything other than what it is. The Democrats are desperate because they have terrible policies, and Donald Trump is their main target.
You know, the most disappointing fact about it all, and some people, I think your audience gets a little upset with me over this, and some of my audience does, but I've been trying to open up their eyes to it the way I see it. Thomas Massey, who, has prided himself on being this super conservative, this and that. I think he's got issues of his own that I won't talk about. But Thomas Massie is apparently spearheading and leading this fight to release all the Epstein documents. Terrific. But Congressman, I want to know why you didn't do this 4 years ago under Joe Biden. Why didn't you corral all the Democrats 4 years ago? And if it failed, then we sit here today and we say, okay, well, it failed back then because the Democrats wouldn't vote with the Republicans. What about now? Do you see an issue with Massie that I do?
Yeah, here's the main issue. Donald Trump is going to primary him. So he's throwing the Epstein sink at him. He's throwing the Capitol riot against him. I mean, I don't know what's going on. He and Dan Bongino have been fighting on Twitter today. Dan Bongino is saying, don't you dare lecture me on how to run the FBI. You have no life experience when it comes to this. You have no idea what we've been doing behind the scenes. But when it specifically comes to Epstein, I think that when you have nothing else and you're going to be taken out by Donald Trump, what do? You try to associate him with the things that even people in jail will kill over, which is inappropriately touching children. I think it's disgusting. I think it's weird. You know what else is weird? This dude was supposedly happily married for 30 years. And then a year later, after his wife mysteriously dies, he's married to someone 30 years younger. I don't know, like there's something odd about this guy, and he's about to get booted and he's trying to grasp at straws. And the biggest, most ugly, dirty, polluted straw he can grab is Jeffrey Epstein. The dude is literally a Democrat.
I didn't want to be the one to say it, but now that you said it, the cat is out of the bag. And that's exactly what I was referring to. It's funny. I still talk to Lou Dobbs' wife probably every day, the same way I used to speak to Lou every day. And I sent her the article and I was like, can you believe this? And she's someone who could understand it because we lost Lou a year and a half ago in July. So, and I'm not going to lie. I think about him every single day. And I texted her the article and she goes, I got to be honest with you. Like, I still get choked up, like, from day to day, like with him not being here. And I'm like, yes, I think like most normal people would. Now, I've only had, granted, thank God, I mean, it's the cycle of life, but a few people close to me passed away in my lifetime, and it's horrible. And I mean, some of them years in the past, 4 years in the past. Stephen, I woke up this morning missing my Cavalier King Charles Spaniel that died 3 years ago. Like, then this guy gets married to a woman, like you said, way younger than him, who he says he's known for 10 years. Now, I'm not going to allege infidelity, but to me, when you know somebody for 10 years, your wife passed away, and then you get married to that woman you knew, it stinks to high heavens. But Thomas Massie says, well, if you think that way, then you're part of the Trump clan and this and that. But I think it just goes to show, like, the things Congressman Tim Burchett calls it out all the time. He's like, if you go to vote for a bill, someone comes to you in the back of the cloakroom, and they says, hey, do you remember that time you were having an affair with so-and-so? You better think about changing your mind on that vote there. And I think it just goes to prove that's how DC is run, Stephen.
Yeah, it is. Okay, going back to the Epstein thing, something that I want to point out is Alex Acosta, the original DA that went after Jeffrey Epstein, he put out a statement today saying, all of our investigation, nothing to do with Donald Trump. You've got Epstein's lawyer, David Schoen, saying, was Donald Trump involved in anything? Absolutely not. You've got Alan Dershowitz, his private attorney, saying there's no connection here. There's no connection here. So I think that the Democrats are like, wait a minute, we know we'll never get an answer. This guy's dead and can't defend himself. Therefore, we can sick the boogeyman on Donald Trump and hope that the general public is stupid enough or desperate enough to side with us, because right now they've got nothing. What policies do they have? Literally, their policy is don't pay the military and use hungry children as bait against Donald Trump. It's disgusting.
Yeah, and the thing that everyone they don't really talk about it, but it's the Democrats are usually accusing the Republicans of like something they're doing. So in order to shield and protect themselves and camouflage themselves from the wrongdoing they're doing, they'll accuse somebody else of doing it. Sometimes the same crimes, sometimes other crimes. In New York, we saw Letitia James accuse Donald Trump of mortgage fraud. We know she's the one who committed mortgage fraud. This week, Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff was arrested in an FBI public corruption probe. Okay, so it's just they'll do anything they could, Stephen, to put the confetti over the cake that's rotted, because they're really the ones who are just corrupt as heck. But the Republicans are not smart enough to come out and do it, because we have people like Thomas Massey who are against MAGA, who are against uniting of the party. And that's what gets picked up, Stephen, in the mainstream media. When you turn on CNN or MSNBC, they want to talk about one or two defectors, not the 99% of the Republican coalition that's united.
Yeah. And going back to your comment about Tim Burchett, just last night, he called for a vote to release the Epstein files. Guess who voted against it? The Democrats.
Yeah.
But then they ran to national television and they said, Trump is trying to hide the Epstein files. So it's like, come on. Like, I guess they just hope that their people only read the headlines, and then the headlines are all written against Donald Trump.
Host of the Stephen Gardner Show. Always a delight to talk to you, my friends. Folks, you can catch Stephen on his YouTube channel every day. He puts out like 60 episodes a day. So you've got to keep up with him like I try to keep up with him, at Stephen Gardner 1 on YouTube. Stephen, we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you.